Hey folks, this is Riker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include Last Epoch reconsidering adding trading, the exciting announcements to come out of Nintendo Direct this week, Diablo 2 final patch notes, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below. But right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. But before we move on, just a quick word from this video's sponsor. I built my website, Riker.com, using Squarespace, and I was able to do everything myself, quickly and easily, and with zero education in the field, all thanks to how easy Squarespace is to work with. Watch how easily I update the Diablo 4 section on my website to include all my video coverage of the latest updates and hands-on previews. Squarespace is flexible for any kind of website, whether for your business or your hobby, with tons of templates that you can easily customize to your needs, no knowledge of coding required. You can even connect your social media profiles to automatically push website content to your socials, set up members-only areas with exclusive content, and sell products. Basically, if you want to build a website, I recommend Squarespace. It's the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. Stand out with a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything, your products, your content, even your time. And Squarespace is offering my viewers 10% off your first purchase with them. So just go to squarespace.com/Riker or click the link in the description to sign up and start building your online presence. That's squarespace.com/RHYKKER and use code Riker to get started today. Starting with some quick news, we got a release date for Darkest Dungeon 2. May 8th is when it launches out of early access. There's also a free demo currently available on Steam and the Epic Game Store, available until February 13th. I really enjoyed the first Darkest Dungeon. I especially enjoy the dark, moody atmosphere, and of course, the legendary voiceover narration. And the roguelike elements to the gameplay are particularly addictive. Running your party heroes through trap-ridden dungeons, praying that they don't come out with too many horrific battle scars, both physical and mental. I hear Darkest Dungeon 2 is a departure from the first game in some major ways. There's less town management, or none at all. There's more focus on the combat. And so if you've played early access, sound off in the comments with your thoughts on Darkest Dungeon 2. In other news, Thomas Mahler, the director of Moon Studios, creators of hit platformer Ori and the Blind Forest, and its hit sequel Ori and the Will of the Wisps, has teased a bit about his upcoming project on Twitter. He said, quote, "Ori was our Mario. This is our Zelda. That was my thought when I first started prototyping our new project back in 2015. We then committed to Wisps, which allowed us to give this project more time in the oven so that we'd then be able to turn it into a full-blown aRPG. A full-blown aRPG. Now, Ori and the Blind Forest received critical acclaim, great gameplay, great story, great music, great art direction, great environmental design, and Will of the Wisps was a similar critical hit. I'm excited to see what this awesome studio brings to the aRPG genre. In some Star Wars Jedi Survivor news, we learned that the game will feature fast travel and rideable creatures, something that seems to have fans of Jedi Outcast actually a little divided. Some are happy to not have to backtrack through Byzantine maps anymore, but others felt that was part of the game's charm. But where do you folks stand? I'm personally pro fast travel, and I'm wondering what are the creatures we'll be able to ride, and how many of them are Tauntauns? IGN also posted 9 minutes of gameplay, and the game is looking beautiful. Gameplay looks tight, combat looks cool, nice parkour. Some of the animations are a little rough and awkward. The movement looks like he's running in a soiled diaper. As a reminder, Jedi Survivor releases on April 28th. Next, in a follow-up to a story we previously covered about the hacker who stole the source code to League of Legends and its anti-cheat software, well, they are now selling the source code for $700,000 on the black market. Now, if you'll remember, they previously were trying to blackmail Riot for $10 million, so it's quite a drop in price. Still, I don't know who's going to pay $700,000. I'm sure cheat makers would love to get a hold of the anti-cheat source code in order to be able to then create and sell cheats and make profit, but to be $700,000 in the hole and hope to recoup all those costs off selling cheats? That's a mighty gamble that I don't think any individual would take on as a risk, and I don't know of any mega corporations that create cheats. But who knows? He tried for $10 million. Now he's lowered the price to $700,000. At the rate that this price is falling, maybe in another couple weeks it'll be down to $50,000. And by next month, you can grab it for about the cost of a brand new GTX 4090. In other news, Nintendo Direct took place this week. That's basically Nintendo's E3, where they reveal games and make announcements. Some of the highlights of the event included a new trailer for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I think the most exciting thing I saw in that trailer was what appear to be vehicles you can build and customize yourself. Breath of the Wild was an excellent game, and honestly, even if this sequel is mostly just going to be more of the same with some extra doodads, that still guarantees a great game. Tears of the Kingdom releases on Nintendo Switch on May 12th. We also got the reveal trailer of Metroid Prime Remastered, bringing the GameCube classic first-person game to the Nintendo Switch. And it's not just a port, it's not just higher texture resolutions, they rebuilt some models, there's more polygons, the game is looking absolutely great. Metroid Prime was a beloved game for many, so this has been a real crowd pleaser, and it's available now for $40. Nintendo also announced a number of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games being added to the Nintendo Switch Online. Hooray! But they're locked behind an extra subscription fee. Boo? To play the Game Boy games, you need a Nintendo Switch Online membership, and the Game Boy Advance games need a Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack membership. Still, nice to see some classics from our childhood return. Many of us don't have Game Boys anymore. I do still have a Super Nintendo kicking around somewhere, but I have no idea if it still works, and even if it does, I don't have a CRT TV to plug it into. Coaxial cable? Try telling that to Gen Z. Also in Nintendo news, the company promised to raise employees' base pay by 10%, even though net profits are down 5.8% year over year for the 9 months ended December 31st. And forecasts are showing continued decrease in profits for the next year. Basically, even though they're making less money and expecting to continue to make less money, they're still paying their employees more to keep up with inflation. I swear, Nintendo seems to be the only decent gaming megacorp that isn't driven by pure capitalism. And speaking of financials, Activision Blizzard posted their quarterly earnings report this week as well. And profits are soaring, especially for Blizzard. In the last quarter of 2022, revenue for Activision Blizzard is up 7.9% year over year, thanks to the release of Overwatch 2, World of Warcraft Dragonflight, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 was the best-selling video game of 2022, having generated $1 billion in 10 days. For Blizzard, monthly active users are up a whopping 87.5% year over year, reaching 45 million monthly active users. And that number grew by 45% just over the past 3 months, mostly thanks to Overwatch 2. Blizzard's revenue increased 89.5% year over year, with operating income rising 93%. The Overwatch franchise, the Diablo franchise, and the Warcraft franchise each made at least $100 million. And with Diablo 4 releasing in June, numbers are expected to keep rising. In some last Epoch news, I got to play some of the multiplayer public beta, and while there are a couple rough spots, overall it's pretty smooth, and it's always fun to play with friends. One topic though that continues to circulate among the games community is trade. The player base initially believed that they'd get open trade. That's what the devs originally were planning for from when they first had their Kickstarter. And we're talking about like Diablo 2 or Path of Exile style trading. But more recently, the devs changed paths and instead opted for a trade system that is more like Diablo 3's, wherein you can only give items to people in your game, and they call it item gifting. However, following lots of feedback, the devs have opened up a survey soliciting yet more player feedback in a very targeted way. They're still open to making changes here. They wrote in their survey, quote, "It's entirely possible that we were incorrect when we concluded that there wasn't a more expansive trade system that would both satisfy people who want trade and not overshadow item drops and crafting." So in the survey, they asked how people would feel about more open trading and the drops being balanced around the presence of open trading, since naturally that would mean lower drop rates. They also asked if Last Epoch were to have trade, what aspect of it would be most important to you? Would it be to deterministically acquire specific unique items or items with specific rare modifiers? To deterministically keep getting better gear without having to rely on RNG to find it? To be able to get value out of great items that you find but can't use? to interact with a live player economy, to directly interact with other players, or some other reason? I really like this question because some of the answers don't require an open trade system to achieve the same result. If you want deterministic loot, there are other ways to achieve that, many of which are already built into the game. It's really the live player economy that has no recourse but to have an actual open trade system. All other options, you can make these happen without having open trade. They also asked, how important for you is being able to trade with friends compared to strangers? How important is player interaction for trading? And a number of other questions that points to different methods they've thought about on how to implement trade with possible limitations. So if you intend to play Last Epoch, I encourage you to fill out that survey because it could make the difference in affecting your play experience if you prefer a more trade-oriented game or a more solo-oriented game. Link to that in the comments. In some Diablo 2 Resurrected news, we got the official patch notes for patch 2.6 and the launch date for Season 3, which will begin on February 16th at 5 p.m. PST. As a reminder, we're getting 8 new rune words. We went over them in a previous video over here. Do check that out. Some of those rune words got updates in these patch notes. Bulwark remains the same. It was a really good rune word to begin with, so no need for a buff there. Cure is getting a level 1 cleansing aura applied to it, which reduces the duration of poison and curses for all party members. So this you can benefit from while putting it on a mercenary. Hearth is getting cannot be frozen added to it, which is huge. That's a highly desirable stat. The hustle armor is getting a big buff that actually makes it a very real option now for attack characters. The faster run rock is now 65% rather than just 50, so you'll be zooming along. It's still not an enigma, but whatever. The attack speed increase went from 20% to 40%. That's big. Plus, you get all resistances plus 10, plus you get plus 6 to evade, which gives you a whopping 40% dodge chance. Even the weapon version of Hustle was changed. The 5% chance of casting Burst of Speed was nerfed from a level 9 Burst of Speed to a level 1, which cuts the increased attack speed and fast run walk roughly in half, so 46% roughly I'm averaging, to about roughly 22%. But to compensate, it now gets a level 1 Fanaticism aura, which again benefits the party and gives 14% increased attack speed and 50% increased damage. So overall, not a nerf, a sizable buff in fact. Then it's great news for martial arts assassins. The Mosaic rune word is getting a buff. It now grants a 50% chance for finishing moves to not consume charges, meaning if you run with 2 of these bad boys, 2 different claws, you have a 100% chance, so you are never spending your charges. Also newly added, when a finisher is executed this way, it now refreshes the expiration timer of the stack. Also, we now get 7% lifesteal on it, and up to 15% elemental damage. Martial arts assassins may be a real big thing this coming season. Then the Metamorphosis rune word for shapeshifting is getting some changes to make the wolf version more inviting. Mark of the Wolf now grants a 30% bonus to attack rating, and the insane 25% chance of crushing blow from Mark of the Bear now applies to both marks. Still, I don't see this shifting the overall meta towards werewolf at all. You can check out the full patch notes for yourself in the description below. Then in some Diablo 4 news, all indications are that we'll find out the open beta release date at IGN FanFest on February 17th or 18th. IGN revealed that Diablo 4 would have a presence at their FanFest, and in a tweet, Diablo General Manager Rod Ferguson implied that they'd reveal the open beta release date then. When asked if he can say anything about the Diablo 4 open beta, Rod replied, quote, "Soon. If only we were presenting at some sort of gaming moment this month where one might announce such a thing, ... If I had to guess a date, I'd guess late April. Because a new round of Diablo 4 Hell's Ink Tattoo event is ongoing with the last tattoo date on April 15th. As a reminder, this is an event where select tattoo parlors in select cities on select dates will give away free Diablo tattoos, along with guaranteed beta early access. So, beta early access, and the last Hell's Ink begins on April 15th. That means the beta cannot start before April 15th, so I'm guessing late April. And that's going to wrap up this week's video, but do be sure to check out last week's video in which we discussed our early impressions of the exciting new season for Diablo 3. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon, and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more gaming content.